Welcome to Reggie Red's Reactions. It's your boy, Reggie Red. Now today we gonna check out these Fox News hosts, how they been crying and acting all snowflakey because Gavin Newsom is giving Trump a taste of his own medicine. They don't know how to act. And the lack of self-awareness is ridiculous, bro. But anyway, if you like this video by the end, make sure you like, comment, and share with your friends. And make sure you subscribe also and hit them alert bells. Let's get into it.
Some have taken away his step. Many are saying he can't even do the big stairs on Air Force One anymore. Uses the little baby stairs now. Sad. Referring to a picture of Donald Trump alongside Vladimir Putin. He just wrote, vaxxed. And Newsom has already captured the visual style of the quintessential Trump post. There's the retweet of buff Gavin Newsom holding an American flag, or maybe the real winner, a portrait of himself surrounded by Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson, and Hulk Hogan. Newsom's social media campaign is clearly getting under the skin of many on the right.
I don't know what he's trying to do, but it comes across as childish. And you're the governor of the biggest state in the union. What are you doing?
This is a sitting governor. You know, those are Congress people. And it feels like we're watching a summer camp skit. We're watching slam poetry. We're watching these attention seekers that are just so wrapped up in clickbait, and they are supposed to be governing.
Hypocrisy is dying a sad and tragic death right now. Say the anchors from the network that paid $800 million for their lies. Now, if the hypocrisy in all of this isn't clear enough, if it doesn't smack you on the side of the head, here's what podcaster and radio host Charlemagne Tha God had to say about Fox News' reaction there.
Have you ever told the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America to stop? Have you ever told the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America that they need to be more serious, to act like it's cool when Trump do it, but it's a problem when Gavin does it? Knock it off.
It's good for the goose. You know how that goes. Joining our coverage, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, Matt Nally.
And that's the problem with these people, man. The lack of self-awareness is just astonishing. Like, he straight got mad. What are you doing? You're supposed to be the governor. Bro, are you serious? Y'all daddy Trump do this shit day in and in the middle of the night. The man don't even sleep. He up in the middle of the night talking about dumb shit. Fucking Taylor Swift. Oh, she's not hot anymore. You the president. I'm gonna use his voice. What are you doing? Like, seriously, boy, these people have no kind of self-awareness, and it's crazy. And then when you point it out to them, here come a dozen excuses. Well, Trump been doing it since 2015. That makes it okay. That makes it cool. I guess so.
Alex are still here as well. Congressman, what do you think about this double standard from Fox, and what do you think about what Governor Newsom is doing?
I freaking love what Governor Newsom is doing, because that's what offense looks like, and we don't see enough Democrats, frankly, doing that. We have to be in more spaces, more places, and always on to voters means always honest. And Donald Trump, for all of his warts and all of his corruption and incompetency, he's always on. And so when he makes a mistake, he is on an hour later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, and it diminishes how the public views him. If we were always on with our ideas and our values, it will project authenticity and who we really are. And so you're seeing Governor Newsom, I think, most effectively do that. And I also like, Nicole, that he's on offense. You have to either put Donald Trump on his heels, or he's going to put the most vulnerable in our community on theirs. And that's what this move is. And more Democrats, particularly governors, should model this and step up.
I agree with you. I have to ask you this, though. Like, how did it take 9 years to decide to simply try, like, mocking him? I mean, South Park figured it out. Gavin Newsom figured it out. But it's still a trickle compared to the fire hose from the other side.
It's our strength and our weakness that we, stand on virtue and fight many of these fights with one hand tied behind our back, and often it's the upper hand. And I'm tired of being told, when they go low, we go high. I mean, the way I see it, when they go low, we should bury their ideas below the Capitol. That's the only way we're going to protect the most vulnerable. Governor Newsom gets that, and yes, we can talk about, and there's great points to be made about how long it's taken us, but he's meeting the moment now, and it's just a matter of, do others join him as he does?
Alex, the piece of this that is likely to trigger Trump the most is that it's funny, and that it's sticky, and that it'll get attention, and that even his favorite network anchors at his favorite network are talking about it over on Fox News. Your thoughts?
I mean, talk about snowflakes. Talk about owning the libs. I mean, it is amazing that a party founded largely in service of melting the snowflakes is melting so quickly when one person actually lays manages to land one on Trump, and that would be Gavin Newsom. I mean, I will just say for the record, I have never wanted a piece of campaign merch as badly as I want that laying of the hands on Newsom with Hulk Hogan and Tucker Carlson and Kid Rock. I think he's having a great time doing this, Nicole. And I think, not only is it time to sort of rethink the notion of self-serious liberalism, and I'm not going to malign Democrats for being serious about it, because we're talking about very, very grave issues and very, very real consequences for a number of people, right? That's serious stuff. But the message is delivered through a joyful warrior. And I think that's really important. Humor, as you point out, is Trump's kryptonite. Cultural currency is what I think has made the manosphere so popular, so prevalent, so much of a powerful sort of voting bloc, if you will, because it was rooted in culture. And this is going viral and being memeable is part of a necessary strategy to succeed in being rooted in culture. So I think what Newsom is doing is broadly in service of Democratic goals. The other thing I'll say is Trump has rendered so many important concepts meaningless by taking what is really legitimate criticism about his corruption and his authoritarian tendencies and throwing it back at his critics, right? And that's changed the way Democrats can even describe what's happening to us as a country. This is an opportunity for Democrats to take back one of Trump's biggest and maybe only selling points, which is his unvarnished real talk. The fact that a Democrat can successfully mimic that really takes that arrow out of Trump's quiver. I think in the last couple of days, Trump has ceased tweeting in all caps. That is indicative of a man who, upon self-reflection, is like, oh, maybe this doesn't have the same resonance as it used to. And that, to me, is really telling about what a winning strategy this is on the part of the California governor.
I watch Mary Trump. She got her own little podcast show on YouTube called Mary Trump Media, and that's exactly what she said. She know her uncle. She know him inside and out, and she said you just gotta mock him. You gotta make fun of him, ridicule him. Like, people don't do enough of that, and gotta be heard to where everybody's in on it and everybody's laughing at him, because that's how small this man is, bro. You gotta do shit like that. Now, once he garnered attention and all that, he should cease with it after his thing accomplished. Cause we don't want another Trump. We don't want motherfuckers firing off tweets and shit like you the leader of the fucking country, and you up in the middle of the night shooting off social media tweets like a 13-year-old middle school girl. How is this life right now? I'll be just so, like, my mind be just so blown by this shit. It should be so crazy. Now, up next, we got Adam Mockler from the Midas Touch Network. He made an appearance on CNN, on the CNN panel, and this dude is young, and he's debating grown-ass people and shutting their ass down. Let's check him out.
Here are the facts. When you ask the residents that Trump is claiming to help, they say that they oppose it at a 79% rate. 61% of them feel less safe. When you ask them what they care about the most, it's not homicides, it's not carjackings, it's Trump's occupation of D.C. So the question then becomes, who are we helping here? Who are we helping here? The idea that public policy isn't meant to serve the public in D.C. is absolutely absurd when Trump was claiming he was helping the public. So the question that I then want to ask is, why don't we mobilize the National Guard to the 8 out of 10 red states that are the highest homicide states? If this decreases crime, and that's sufficient enough to mobilize the National Guard against the explicit will of the people of D.C., why is the National Guard not marching through the streets?
The law, he was already quoted.
I'm not talking about the law.
Do you see really that this trolling of Trump and social media, which is doing gangbusters for Gavin Newsom's social media accounts, what's the pathway to actually bringing voters back to the Democratic Party? Because the internet is not real life. That is the truth. And I'm not sure I'm seeing Democrats understanding that.
Well, there's two parts to it. First, you have to drive the attention, then you drive the narrative. So right now, he's getting the attention piece in the attention economy, and he's doing it quite well. He's getting millions of views. I also don't agree that Obama's twisting himself in pretzels. I think it's a completely logical statement. Norms in a democracy work a lot like consent. You can't have meaningful consent when only one side is engaging in that, and you can't have meaningful norms when one side is engaging. So when Obama says we're okay with temporary redistricting, that's what it is, temporary redistricting, proportional to what Texas is doing, I don't think that's very hypocritical. But when it comes to Newsom, get the attention, drive the narrative. That's what Democrats should do.
I think the Democrats are hemorrhaging voters because they've chosen all the wrong constituencies. They seem to care more about illegal aliens than American citizens, violent criminals than law-abiding citizens, and the Palestinian flag more than the American flag.
That is not true, and that is
when you take those positions on things like that, people tend to run to the other party. And
is there one mainstream Democrat that said he likes illegal immigrants over?
And you know that's not necessarily
Chris Van Hollen? There's one.
He said that? Chris Van Hollen did not say that.
He went and had margaritas at Montana.
He met with Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, who was brought back to the United States. The administration conceded that he was sent there wrongfully, so Chris Van Hollen...
I mean, if you want to keep going down this road...
All right, Alencia.
You claim that Democrats like crime.
Hold on. As someone who does a lot of messaging in the Democratic Party, we do have a messaging issue. But the real thing here is that we have to go to these voters and talk to them about the pain that they are feeling before we bring the policy solution. Because we do have the policy solution. We just have to figure out a better way of listening to our voters. And I think we are in this crisis right now where we are forced to do that. And I do believe that Democrats can come back and gain these voters back.
President Trump dipping his toe in the socialism pool. Some of his recent moves have the government's hands firmly involved in a number of business dealings. For example, in an unusual move, NVIDIA has agreed to give 15% of its revenue from chip sales to China to the United States government. And in June, Japan's Nippon Steel was allowed to buy out U.S. Steel, but only if the White House was granted a golden share that gives them extraordinary amounts of influence over a U.S. company. And Trump has even leveraged his tariff policy to demand investment in the United States. And just last week, he demanded Goldman Sachs replace its chief economist over their tariff predictions. And yesterday, Bloomberg reported that the administration is discussing taking a 10% share in Intel to help rescue the company. But if you think calling any of this socialism is a bridge too far, well, conservative Eric Erickson thinks that is exactly what it is.
The U.S. government would become the largest shareholder of Intel. This is actual socialism happening by a Republican administration. This is a horrible precedent. This is socialism. All of you people were freaked out about Mamdani in New York City wanting government-run grocery stores and saying the people need to seize the means of production. That's what Harold Lutnick is doing right now, saying that the government must seize a controlling interest in Intel, the means of production, in order to get government money. You can't just be against socialism when the left does it.
Phil, can you respond to that? Because I think it is perplexing that conservatives would be okay with all of that.
The idea that Donald Trump's not going to have influence, that's silly. He's absolutely going to have influence, but he's not weighing in and destroying the free market. He's not doing what Biden did, which is going in and trying to reshape the entire auto industry in his image. What he's really doing right now is he's saying there are better ways, but the free market capitalist
Wait. Are you talking? What are you talking about when you talk about Biden and the auto industry?
Oh gosh, did you not see what he did? There was no demand for EVs to the extent that the Biden administration wanted, so they regulated it into existence. They funded it to make sure it had subsidies to survive. And then when the subsidies went away, the industry collapsed, which was a clear indication that industry was not ready for its day.
You keep citing the free market, but politicizing companies and allocating capital politically is not the free market. Supply and demand is the free market. And you say that Biden reshaped the EV industry in his image.
Oh, yeah,
Trump is
absolutely.
reshaping the entire tariff global order in his image. He's placing tariffs on countries that make no sense whatsoever.
I told you had to buy a certain vegetable at the store, and if you didn't like it, it was just too bad. That was the only one you could buy, and I was going to subsidize that vegetable industry. And oh, by the way, I was going to regulate that by the time 2030 came along, that's the only vegetable you could buy.
If I told you I'm going to place tariffs on every single country with no discretion whatsoever, and you're going to say he's not reshaping the global order when it comes to that?
Have you seen the budget that we had last year or last month? We actually had a budget surplus for the first time ever. The tariffs are working.
Sheila, hold on. Sheila, first of all, it is not true that you can't go to an auto dealer and buy a non-EV car. So that is not an accurate description.
I said he was reshaping the market.
Yeah, but you described it as if the government were telling people that they can't go get something else at the car dealership when they absolutely can.
Have you seen California?
But the other, you can.
To have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C.
So now it doesn't matter, Scott Jennings, that voters are not happy with what Trump's doing, don't feel safer, all of that.
I don't care what they think. I mean, these are the same people who elected the mayor and city council that ran the city's public safety into the ground in the first place.
You don't care what the residents...
They don't know what's good for them.
You don't care what the residents of D.C. think.
I do not. I do not care one bit, and I'll tell you something else.
I feel like I do remember just a couple weeks ago you were saying, well, secretly, D.C. residents really want this because they know the crime is so bad.
I don't know
now
what
we
they
actually
want.
have the
I know what
numbers
they
that
need.
say, will Trump's federal takeover reduce violent crime? 65% say no, just 20% say yes. Do you feel like the presence of federal officers makes you feel safer, more safe, 18%, less safe, 61%?
Why would they say that?
Here are the facts. When you ask the residents that Trump is claiming to help, they say that they oppose it at a 79% rate. 61% of them feel less safe. When you ask them what they care about the most, it's not homicides, it's not carjackings, it's Trump's occupation of D.C. So the question then becomes, who are we helping here? Who are we helping here? The idea that public policy isn't meant to serve the public in D.C. is absolutely absurd when Trump was claiming he was helping the public. So the question that I then want to ask is, why don't we mobilize the National Guard to the 8 out of 10 red states that are the highest homicide states? If this decreases crime, and that's sufficient enough to mobilize the National Guard against the explicit will of the people of D.C., why is the National Guard not marching through the streets?
The law.
But one thing, because what Adam just said was something that we asked here at the table yesterday. Why not address violence in all these other parts of the country?
Not enough Democrats.
Why? I'm not saying that President Trump should do it, but all these red state governors have the ability to mobilize their National Guards within their own states. Why aren't they doing it?
Right now, I don't think they feel the need to. But right
even
now,
though the
Home Rule
violence
Act,
levels are higher in some of those
states don't have a Home Rule Act, but they do have a governor.
No, but they have a governor and they have a National Guard that's under the control of the government.
We're talking about D.C.
They
right
can
now.
deploy that at
But
any
their cities have more crime
You
than
not see
Washington,
the difference
D.C.
between our national capital and every other city.
You're saying that the National Guard is
no
a
one's
defeater
saying
of
that.
crime, but then you refuse to endorse the National Guard being put in other states. You're going to say the National Guard is lowering crime
I'm arguing
rates.
that the national capital, Washington, D.C., exists in a different federal zone, as was pointed out.
Yeah, but that is only
it's our national
as it relates
capital.
to
I'm sorry,
Hold
it
on,
is different
Scott.
than Memphis
It
or
is
whatever.
only as it relates to Donald Trump's role in this whole thing. When it comes, the president's, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to the rest of the country, governors have the. I'll let you get it. Governors have the authority to do what Trump is doing, and they are not doing. So now you each have 30 seconds to tell us, in the spirit of high school reunions, what would you tell your former high school haters? Adam.
I was not the best student in high school. I graduated 4 years ago, but I'd say I'm now on CNN with Abby Phillip. That's what I'd say.
That's a flex.
Oh, wow.
That he graduated 4 years ago is a flex.
Owning people twice my age. Sorry,
Aged
Scott.
us and he sucked up to the hose right there.
Oh, gosh.
Well, there you have it, man. Like, comment, let me know what you think. I'm out of here. Peace.